I can do it all, I will never fall. It's the Renaissance, you know that I got the mother sauce, man. You know I'm the boss, I know what it costs. Have you ever lost? I'm so versatile, yeah, I'm a Renaissance, man. I can do it all, I will never fall. It's the Renaissance, you know that I got the mother sauce, man. You know I'm the boss, I know what it costs. Have you ever lost? I'm so versatile, yeah, I'm a Renaissance, man.
Congratulations, brother.
And here we go.
Yo, what is good, everybody? It's episode 2 of Hanging at the Hangar with Gunny. Yeah, so this is kind of fun. I'm not gonna lie to you, I'm actually thoroughly enjoying this. I've been looking forward to this like all freaking week. Been trying to figure out what to do with this next episode. Got a couple of cool things lined up for us throughout the off season. But nevertheless, to me, I felt like, you know what? Nonstop conversations going on and on and on about the freaking draft coming up. We've all seemed to be pretty excited about what the New York Jets have done when it comes to the offseason, right? Free agency. I don't think many of us are upset about it. I think some of us want to go ahead and see a couple more pieces get added. I don't think our guy is done yet. I think Joe D definitely has some more to keep on adding, but nevertheless, the draft is the next big thing that we're looking forward to, and there is so much of a disconnect, right, in terms of what the New York Jets should do at pick number 10. Should the Jets draft, an offensive tackle? Should they draft a wide receiver? Should they draft Brock Bowers? Should they trade back? It's been nonstop, and it's been everlasting. It's getting to the point now that I feel like we're starting to argue about stuff that really, either way, it's all good, right? Unless the Jets decide to draft a quarterback or draft defense, I think for the most part, we can all agree the Jets have done some pretty awesome things so far in this offseason to set them up for a good draft. So tonight, we're going to go ahead and do a mock draft. But I'm not going to sit up here and make the picks. I'm going to have my guests come on a little bit later on. In fact, you guys are going to go ahead and make the picks. We're going to go ahead and have you, the audience, be the GMs of individual teams. Now, how are we going to do this? I was trying to figure it out. I figured we're going to go with an overall consensus of what I see in the draft in regards to what your picks are. So pick 1. We're going to go from pick 1 all the way to pick 32. You guys are going to be the ones picking who gets picked at each individual for each individual. Hold on now. For each individual team, you guys will be making the picks, and then me and Don will be analyzing your picks and then kind of giving our 2 cents on it. Whether or not we would do the same thing, maybe do something a little bit different, I don't know. But while I'm here, let me go ahead and say what's up to a few of you guys in the chat. Man, I see a lot of love already. DKBX Jets, what's up, my guy? Got to get you on the show sometime soon. I know we're about to kick off our show again here in the next couple of weeks. We've got 10 Star. Appreciate you for just stopping in, 10 Star. New York Flight Jets Talk. What's up, Connor? My boy, how you doing? One Jets Pod, how you doing, man? My guy, appreciate you for coming through. Dano, man, you are, sir, a real one. I know I can count on you to be here. No ifs, ands, no buts. DK again, New York Jets. Okay, all right. So we've got a couple of individuals commenting right now. We've got about 30 people currently watching. So I'm going to assume a good portion of these individuals are on Twitter. For some reason, a lot of people seem to like the Twitter stream. Kind of surprising to me. Personally, I feel like if we're going to talk or watch content, YouTube is definitively where we want to go ahead and watch content on. But I guess not, right? Ultimately, some of you are on Twitter. So again, if you're on Twitter right now, there's 30 of us watching the stream. Do me a favor, jump off real quickly, jump on YouTube, go ahead and like. If you're not subscribed, subscribe to the channel. I'm saying this because last year I did a bunch of awesome giveaways. A lot of it came through me posting videos, vice me being on live streams. This year, I plan on doing more giveaways. I've already contacted my Connect, Gino, D'Italy Jet. We've got a couple of things planned that I'm going to go ahead and be able to get into the building to go ahead and give out to specific viewers. So I'm not going to lie to you, the majority of these will be done through my YouTube account. So if you're not on my YouTube account, I highly recommend you jump on there. We did some pretty awesome giveaways last year. I plan on doing that again this year. So again, if you're watching me on Twitter, I appreciate you. I appreciate you being here with us. But just jump over on YouTube real quick. Make sure you like and subscribe. So that way we at least get you, I guess you can say selected or inputted into the plug, so to speak, when it comes to giveaways for next year. All right. Let's see here. So Dom said he was going to be on here in a little bit. So I guess I'm going to go ahead and kind of give my philosophy about what I think about like the Jets and what they should do with pick number 10. I know there's a lot of individuals right now who are on board with wide receiver, tight end, offensive line. I haven't seen a lot of people talk about defense, thank goodness. A lot of those individuals that do talk trading back are still talking about offensive line or a wide receiver and then accumulating that second round pick. Now, I'm not going to lie to you. I personally think that there's some individuals that if they are available at pick number 10, the trade back situation, I think you start seeing a dip in terms of value. And for me, it's guys like Adunze, who I really think would be a nice addition to this roster. The dude is a freak, right? I think he was the lead wide receiver in terms of contested catch rate last year in college. The dude is a big body wide receiver who runs good routes. I think he's got some strong hands. He doesn't drop the ball either. Like he catches everything thrown his way. So for me, I'm a big fan of Adunze. But at the same time, if Fashanu was there, or we have a shot at, a guy like a Fuaga, I don't believe we're going to see Joe Alt. Some people, I've seen a couple of mock drafts where Joe Alt has fallen to pick 10. I just don't see that happening. If he drops outside of the top 7, I'll be shocked. I guess then you start talking about, does it make sense for us to go ahead and potentially trade up to go get a Joe Alt? And I'll talk to a couple of individuals that talked about, hey, maybe you trade up to go get a freaking MHJ, right? So listen, if Joe Douglas is really all in, if we want to know if he's really all in, Joe Douglas will trade up, I think, in this year's draft, and he will go and get either MHJ or Joe Alt. I think that if you bring one of those two guys in, you definitively, without question, make your team better. I think those two guys out of this entire draft are the two can't miss prospects, like the ones that you already know if you bring them in, they're going to be either valid starters in the NFL, legitimate starters, or they're going to be all pros. I think that's really where we're at with these guys. The floor is they're going to be contributing starters at the NFL level, and the ceiling is all pro. Like these guys, to me, I think you just can't miss. You can't go wrong. Legitimate football players. If Joe Douglas wants to go ahead and prove to the world that he is all in on this year's draft, that's the route he would go. I think you got to move up, man. I think you got to move up. I don't know if he's going to do that. In fact, if I had to bet on it, I don't think he's going to do that. I think this is a guy who loves his draft picks way too much. And even though if this season's a bomb, he might not be here freaking next season. I still don't think like he's going to go ahead and give it up, man. I don't think that he's going to give up assets to move up. And to me, that's a bit frustrating because it shows that he's still playing it cautious with his back against the wall. Because again, if he doesn't win, if he doesn't win this year, I think the regime gets gutted, and they move on. They move on. So what I believe is going to happen, I think realistically, the options are going to be Fashanu, Adunze, or a trade back situation. I don't even think Brock Bowers is really like going to be something that Joe's going to look at and think, I'm going to go ahead and use the 10th overall pick on a position that's not a premium position. I think when you look at that value of a first round pick, you're talking about somebody that you can keep on the cheap and even get that fifth year option on them. You're talking about wide receivers, man. You're talking about quarterbacks. You're talking about freaking offensive linemen, tackles preferably. Again, you've seen individuals make the move to go ahead and get a tight end in the first round. And again, to me, the value just isn't there in terms of the production that you've seen. And the hate that our boy Conklin gets, man, consistently, I think is kind of ridiculous. Personally, I don't see the tight end position being a position of need. And if we're talking about impact players, I think, again, keeping Aaron Rodgers up is the number one thing we need to focus on in this particular draft. But getting him another wide receiver to go ahead and complement Garrett Wilson and potentially complement freaking Mike Williams, I don't see how you go wrong with that, where you're going to be able to stretch the field with those guys. You're going to put pressure on the freaking defense. And you got a guy like Conklin, who we've seen in back-to-back seasons in the last couple of years, get over 600 yards, over 60 receptions with the 32nd ranked freaking quarterback in the quarterback play in the NFL. We're talking about a guy who was top 12 in terms of receptions and yards over the last 2 years, with a 32nd ranked quarterback play of the Jets. I don't know how you look at that and think, with an Aaron Rodgers where we can't bump those TD numbers up. For those of us who keep saying Brock Bowers scores TDs, why Conklin couldn't score potentially if he has a more accurate and more reliable quarterback? So again, I'm not here to knock what y'all are gonna do. If y'all decide in in this freaking draft that Brock Bowers is Himothy, that he's the one we want to go ahead and pick a number 10. Like I said before, you guys are in complete control. We'll pick number 10, and then me and Dom will go give our insight as to what we think about the pick and what we would have done if anything differently. I'll tell you right now, if y'all pick Brock Bowers, I'm gonna have something to say about it, because if Fashanu is there or a Dunze is there, I'm gonna disagree with the pick. But nevertheless, I keep saying like this: you really can't go wrong if you're Joe Douglas and you have that opportunity to go ahead and build this offense. When you look at the options he'll have at pick number 10, literally any direction he can make to improve the offense is a W. I think as Jets fans, we can really relate to the fact that we've seen a lot of good defenses over the last several years, but it hasn't really resulted in wins. I think that when it comes down to it, the NFL is moving forward or moving towards more of an offensive centric type of play. As we realized yesterday with all the rule changes that came out, the kickoff return changes is made for people to go ahead and run it back, for us to go ahead and score points. The drop tackle being illegal now is made to help offenses score more points. Even turnovers now, if you get a turnover in the offensive, if the offense throws a turnover to the defense and then the offense commits a penalty, the defense, wherever they move the ball to for their tackle, they can add an additional the penalty yardage on top of that. The NFL wants to see more points. It's abundantly clear. And if that's the case, I'm all about putting as many resources as possible towards freaking offense. It just, to me, it makes sense, right? Like, I don't know a situation where right now teams that are winning, playoff games, you know what I'm saying, are not offensive oriented. The Cleveland Browns had the number one defense in the league last year. It didn't really get them far. The Jets were, I think, number 2. And then we had freaking the 49ers. That was number 3. The Baltimore Ravens, number 4. Like, that's top 5 defenses that didn't win the ring last year, right? You got the Chiefs with the top 10 defense win the Super Bowl. So for me, it's all about offense, and it's all about keeping Aaron Rodgers upright. If we do that, then we're going to be okay. Right. Let me see here. DKB. So I'm kind of curious, man. Put in the chat, like, whose team tight end, whose team offensive lineman, whose team wide receiver. I kind of want to get an idea. I got to figure out how to put polls in this thing. So I'm going to learn that so I can add polls to my streams, because I'm just kind of curious as to where a lot of y'all stand when it comes to the draft and what you would like to see Joe D do. I see you guys having a lot of conversations in the. Oh, my guy just showed up. You guys are having a lot of conversations in the chat. So, again, I know most of y'all jumped on here not to really see me tonight, but to go ahead and see this guy get this mock draft going. So let me go ahead and bring on my guest, my co-host for the evening. Yo, my boy Dom.
How you doing, what's brother? Up, my guy? How are you, man?
I'm doing great, man. I'm doing great. We're talking off-season football. We're talking about the draft. This is where the Jets tend to shine. So I'm living in my comfort zone as a Jets fan right now, man. Like, off-season time. So it's always a happy time for us in the off-season.
I hear you, bro. Yeah, off-season champions year after year, right? One of these days, it's gonna run its course, and that means it's gonna equate to a Super Bowl. But until then, man, we still grind. We're out here grinding. Right?
Yeah, man. Hey, Dom, listen, I tell people all the time, man, like, you and I, we chop it up really every day. We're always going back and forth in our group chat. I tell people all the time, like, I got a better understanding of how to analyze and watch tape because of conversations with you. Like,
oh man, come on.
I'm not kidding, bro. I say it because it's true. Like, I would ask questions, what you're looking for, and it allowed me to add to my repertoire when I'm looking at tape to better understand what I'm seeing. So man, look, I'm glad you could join me tonight, because I'm not gonna lie to you. A good portion of some of these picks I already know I'm not going to know much about, because for me, I focus predominantly on New York Jets options. So yeah. I'm going to be pretty much the co-host tonight. So
man,
the way the game works.
It's all fun, bro. It's all fun, and we learn and we do this shit together, this stuff together.
You're good. This is my stream, brother. By all means, be you. You're fine.
Fair enough. Well, I'm happy to be here, man, and I'm always ready. I'm always ready, and I'm always willing to talk draft for sure. You know what I mean?
Awesome, awesome.
That's kind of where I lie. So
Oh yeah, that's definitely your wheelhouse, man. Subject matter expert is what I tell people. So, without further ado, we're gonna go ahead and kick off our one round. It's just a one round. We're not gonna do any trades, so you got to pick where we're at. I know a lot of you guys are gonna say trade back or move up, whatever the case might be. We're gonna keep it simple tonight. We're gonna do a one round mock draft, but we are the GMs for all 32 teams. I mean myself, Dom, and everybody else here in the chat. So, boom. All right, so we're going to be using freaking NFL Draft Buzz Simulator. I'm not gonna lie to you, I've had some fun playing around with this thing.
yeah. Green Bean likes this one a lot
Yeah.
too. I'm not too familiar with it. You know, I got on there a minute or so. You know, messed around. But listen, simulators are all, you know, they're all relatively equal. What I
Yeah.
like about this one is, you know, if you're not sure about a guy, if it's a prospect you don't know, you can always just drill down and get your you know, get some info from Draft Buzz, which I think is pretty cool.
Yeah, I personally am a huge fan.
Mm-hmm.
I think that Green Bean, I think who also introduced it to me, and when I was messing around with it while we were doing a mock draft, I thought to myself, man, that is actually pretty intense. I don't know why I've never heard of it, so I messed around with it nonstop for the last like several weeks.
Yeah, for sure, man, for sure.
All right, so let's see here. Make sure I get the chat up. And well, without further ado, let's kick off this freaking mock draft.
Yes, sir.
Wait, nope. See?
You didn't choose all the teams.
I thought I did. I could have sworn I did. Hold on. Reset draft. Come back. Oh, no, I did not. Select all teams.
One round.
One round. Enter draft. All right.
Now we're cooking with heat.
Now we're cooking with heat. Now we got the gas on. Let's start the draft. All right. Okay, people. You're up. This is what we've all been talking about. We've all been kind of waiting for this. With the first overall pick, the Chicago Bears have needs at offensive lineman, quarterback, wide receiver, and obviously offensive tackle. Who do y'all select for the Chicago Bears, or who do y'all believe they'll select with the first pick of the NFL draft?
We're going to let the chat kind of lead the way here. Yep. But I will say this. I'll give you my 2 cents while we wait for that.
Let's do that.
You know, to me, I think it's a no-brainer. I know that you ain't maybe I'm wrong. Correct me if I'm wrong. I know you ain't the biggest fan of Caleb, but for me, I think it's this is already done. I think Caleb Williams will end up being the pick. I think he should be the pick. I think he's the best quarterback in the draft. I know that you know, some people didn't like the fact that, you know, maybe he comes off a certain way, or right, you know, cocky, or, you know, didn't test, didn't do any of the stuff at the combine or pro day or this, that, and other thing. But listen, when it comes down to it, you know, you got to take these kids, and that's exactly what they are. These are young men. Some of them may not be comfortable. Some of them might be a little bit socially awkward. You know, you got to take that with a grain of salt, and trust what you're seeing on the field. And what you're seeing on the field is a kid who threw, you know, former Heisman Trophy winner, threw for 3,700 yards last year, 30 touchdowns, you know, the whole nine. You know, has a live arm, can make all the throws, mobile and nimble enough in the pocket to perform outside the platform as well. To me, I don't even question it. He's, you know, he's my number 2 player in the class. So I would take Caleb Williams, and I don't think it's really going to be up for discussion. 2 and 3 might be different, but for me, I think it's Caleb Williams, man.
Okay. Well, I mean, right now I see a lot of us are not understanding the rules here. We're supposed to be making the picks, everybody. I thank you, Dano, for doing your part. I appreciate that. I appreciate Bobby. Good looking out. Everybody else, this is a viewers ran mock draft. Me and Dom do our jobs if you don't do your job. So I'm going to go with the consensus number 1 overall. I got a couple of guys who've picked Caleb Williams as well. So it looks like they agree with you. So we're going to select Caleb Williams, first overall pick of this 2024 mock draft. Listen, I'm not a fan of Caleb, and I'm not, because I feel like this guy is going to be another one of those situations where, yeah, he was kind of fun to watch. Lincoln Riley does an amazing job at making these QBs look real pretty. But when I watched a lot of the tape, my concern with him was that when it came against top 25 competition, he seemed to just disappear. This is a guy who has last year completed 54% of his passes in top 25 versus top 25 opponents. This is a guy who dropped almost 30% in terms of yards and went 1-for-1 TD for interception ratio against those guys. So that concerns me, because at the NFL level, you're going to be facing the top of the best guys that they are to play at the position.
Yep.
And I worry about his mentality. I think that, he might, he's the quarterback. This is supposed to be the rock. This is the guy that everybody leans on. His mental makeup, to me, is a little bit concerning. Not that his ability to go ahead and read defenses and scan the field is an issue, although I do think he's not the best in the class when it comes to that either. But I think that his mental makeup, in terms of just some of the way you saw him react towards opponents, throughout games when he loses, the way he walks off the field and he doesn't show a lack of sportsmanship, those to me are all red flags about character. I know he hasn't gotten in trouble. I know he hasn't freaking broken the law or anything like that. But this is a guy who doesn't handle losing well. And you're going to the Bears. You're going to lose games. I have concerns as to how he's going to bounce back. So for me, I'm not a big Caleb Williams fan, but again, he is the consensus #1 pick in this draft, and I would be paid to do this. So, boom, Caleb Williams is the #1 overall pick.
Yeah. Now, number 2 could get interesting, because I think if you poll the majority of fans or people in the know, I think it's more a 50-50 split on who's next.
Okay.
Now, the interesting thing, and this is where I call BS and I call smoke on this today. Tom Pelissero came out with a tweet where he said, he's been polling the GMs around the league and the owners around the league at the owners meetings. And he said the heavy consensus to go number 2 overall is JJ McCarthy, which I don't necessarily believe one iota. I think that they're still trying to, placate or kind of keep their hand under wraps. For me, like I said, it's a coin flip. I think the team as constituted right now, you're in a better chance. I think that the player between Drake May and Jaden Daniels, who can come in and better suit the needs and that offense that Washington now wants to run with Cliff Kingsbury. I know everyone's going to lead towards Jaden Daniels. I think the opposite. I think Drake May is going to work. I think he would work magic in Cliff Kingsbury's offense. A little bit more, a lot more accuracy. Again, not as dual threat of a player as Jaden Daniels. Definitely not run first, but he's definitely got enough wiggle room. Got enough wiggle in his step where he can, not hurt you. He's not a statue back there. Drake May, I'm talking about. I love how Drake May throws with anticipation. I think that, he's a good spot thrower, timing guy, a lot more than Jaden Daniels. Jaden Daniels had a phenomenal year, and I love Jaden Daniels as a player, as a prospect. I think for me, in an ideal situation, Jaden Daniels comes in and kind of takes that redshirt year to really, really develop. And I don't think he's going to have that. You're going to have that option in Washington. So you got to get somebody that you're ready to hook your wagon on. So between the two, for me, if I'm the GM, I'm taking Drake May here.
Hey, Dom. Hey, looks like the people heard you and the people agree with you. We've got the consensus as being Drake May. A couple of guys said MHJ. We've got one guy that says JJ McCarthy and DKBX Jets. But Drake May is the consensus winner here. So, boom, with the second overall pick, the Washington Commanders select. Let me just go ahead and make this easier for myself. There he is. Drake May.
Yes, sir.
All right.
So I'm not going to talk before this one. I'm going to let the chat do their thing, and then I'll give you my sense, because New England's interesting, right?
Yeah, this one's personal.
You think that it's. I think a lot of people are going to say it's a no-brainer, but man, I don't think so. So I'm going to keep quiet and let the chat go here. New England is on the board. What do you guys want, man?
Yeah, so it's New England. It's a rival for the Jets. I know a lot of us want to go ahead and say, hey, let's go ahead and get them a kicker. Let's not do that, right? Let's go ahead and be as realistic to this as possible. What do you guys see the Patriots doing with their pick at pick number 3? They need a QB. They need wide receivers. They need offensive tackles. While you guys figure that out, I'll do my quick little synopsis of Drake May and my concerns about him.
Mm-hmm.
I ain't gonna lie to you, man. I think in this particular draft class, I'm not impressed with many of the quarterbacks in terms of the top tier, right? I'd rather take a flyer on a late round guy. I know we were having a conversation about who we would probably aim for towards the back end. You didn't like my guy, so I kind of went back, watched more tape. I still kind of like Travis, but again, maybe I'm just being kind of biased. But Spencer Rattler's also kind of growing on me now per our conversations and whatnot. So I'm seeing that on the back ends. I see a lot of guys in that's going obviously early as quarterback, the most important position on the field. But Drake May's lack of competition scares me, man. I think the fact that you look at his progression over the last couple of years, he's really had one season where he really popped. The lack of competition to me is always going to be a concern. People think I'm crazy when I said this. When I was watching him, I was kind of seeing, what I'm saying, this year's Zach Wilson in terms of what he brings to the table. Yeah, he's a little bit bigger, but I saw a guy who took advantage of lesser competition. I did like his ball placement significantly better than the Zach, but I was concerned of the amount of time he had back there to make decisions. And he's also kind of athletic as well. So Drake May worries me, but I like him more than Caleb. I like his IQ. I think his processing is actually pretty good as well.
Yeah.
And I just like I like his mentality. I like how he approaches the game. So it doesn't surprise me he went number 2 again. Quarterback being the most important position on the field. It just makes sense. But
yeah, with Drake, the one thing that I got from watching a lot of his film, like I said, I agree with you wholeheartedly. I think it's a great point. Like he's a cerebral quarterback, more so than any of the other quarterbacks. Actually, maybe not Michael Pratt, because maybe not Michael Pratt, because I think Michael Pratt does it pretty good. Is how he can get through his progressions. The two things that struck me with Drake May that I didn't care for is one, that he doesn't tend to really play between the hashes. He doesn't make a lot of throws over the middle now. And some people will say that's progression. Some of them say that's a lack of him being able to progress, that he can't get off his first or second read. I don't know if that's, I'd be lying here if I said that's, 100% positive. I don't know what the reasoning is about that. But the second thing that I don't like, and I think this is something that's going to be, just time and coached out of him, is he gets a little happy feet. Like his footwork gets really sloppy amongst pressure. And sometimes it's kind of unseen pressure. Like he feels pressure that's not really there. And he'll get a little, it's like Sam Darnold seeing ghosts kind of stuff. And he gets he gets some happy feet and can get like a little sloppy with his footwork and technique, and just kind of trusts just slings the ball around. So that won't fly in the next level. I mean, he's just got to stay poised. He's got to step through his throws, keep everything square. Most of the time he does, but sometimes he gets, a little off of that. Again, between the two, I think Drake May's more apt or more ready to come in and start. So that's why I would lean for him to be in Washington.
Okay. It looks like we've got individuals. MHJ. Yeah, MHJ is the winner.
Yeah.
No, wait. JJ McCarthy, Jadavian. Collectively, we've got. Okay, no, it's Jaden Daniels. That's the 5th Jaden Daniels. Okay.
All
right.
Yeah, so, listen, I thought it was going to be. I thought it was going to be a competition between him and Harrison Jr. And you can make an argument. You can make a fair argument either way. I don't know which one I would probably lean. If I'm making the pick for New England, like this is the start of a rebuild. I think that their line needs a lot of help. Their weapons need to be kind of upgraded. I think if you take Jaden Daniels and kind of plug him in there, you're setting him up to kind of struggle and really like limit that progression. However, they do have Jacoby Brissett. That this could be a bridge year and kind of just have him sit and learn, which in that sense, Jaden Daniels would be a smart pick. I can't, for me, like if I'm New England, knowing that they're picking high in that second round, man, I'm taking Harrison Jr. and I'm probably trying to jump back up in the first round and take one of those quarterbacks that fall.
Yeah, Chase Daniel back in the draft. So okay, I'm seeing more people come in now, and MHJ I think has just taken the lead. Yep,
Oh shit!
yep. MHJ has just I just counted 4 and 3. Okay, well, okay. Wow, I wasn't expecting that. I really thought quarterback would be it, but it makes sense. So I'm seeing some individuals talk about how they got Brissett in the building now, adding a weapon like an MHJ can go ahead and be an impact guy for this team. But the thing is this though. So my only counter is this. Again, y'all made the pick. Y'all made the pick. So again, the winner is MHJ. I'm making sure one more time. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yep, the winner is Marvin Harrison Jr.
Yeah.
And
you can't argue. Listen, I think it's win-win. You know, I think the people that tell you need to go quarterback when you're this high in the draft, like that does make sense. But you know, that team's not a quarterback away. You know what I mean?
No.
Like I would kind of take the Detroit Lions method of rebuild and you know, put all the pieces around there and then just figure out the quarterback after it, whether it's you draft one or whether it's you go pluck a veteran like Detroit did with Jared Goff
right.
to kind of run the ship. There's just so many pieces away now. Who knows? I really don't know what New England's going to do in real life. You know, again, gun to my head, I think I take the talent like Marvin Harrison Jr. and figure out put the foundation in place and bring the quarterback in later.
Yeah, makes sense. I mean, Marvin Harrison Jr., like I said before, there's 2 guys in this draft that I believe are can't-miss guys, and I think it's Joe Alt and Marvin Harrison Jr. Those are my 2 anyway. I would have thought quarterback as well because of, where they're at in terms of the pick. They've only got Brissett on a 1-year deal, but when you can go ahead and build around potentially a generational talent like an MHJ, it makes all the sense in the world. So that'll be a fun competition. I saw Dano put in their Sauce versus MHJ. That's going to be the stuff of legend, so that should be a good time.
Yeah.
All right. So
Arizona's on the board. I'm already counting 4 neighbors in here.
Have you? All right.
Yeah.
So Arizona on the board. Wow. So a lot of people believe
5 neighbors.
That's the pick. Yeah. Yep. Yeah. That's okay. Well,
and that is the pick for if the board fell like this. If the board fell like this, first off, I'm going to say this. This is my opinion only. I don't think Arizona's trading out of this pick, no matter who's on the board. I don't think they're trading down. They have 6 picks, I think, in the top 100. They don't need more capital. They got picks next year coming to them. You have a chance to get a weapon like Marvin Harrison Jr. or Neighbors, and one of those are going to fall their way. Yep. You just do it. You pluck it and you do it. Again, they got rid of Rondale Moore. They traded him to Atlanta. They obviously lost Hollywood Brown. Right now, you have Greg Dortch and Michael Wilson, the rookie from last year, as your number 2 and your number 1, respectfully. You got to bring in an alpha dog, and you're sitting pretty if you're in Arizona here. You got another pick later in the draft. They have pick 26 or 27. You can still build with that. Then 2 more picks in the second round. Man, you sit here and you take the best weapon and kind of help Kyler even more. And listen, Neighbors is one hell of a consolation gift to Marvin Harrison. I think they're closer than a lot of people want to talk about, personally.
Yeah, listen, I'm a big fan of this pick. I think Malik Neighbors is my number 2 wide receiver off the board. He's coming off exactly when he should be, in my opinion.
Yeah, he's my number 3 player in the class. Okay,
so then this was already your guy. So you already knew this was going to happen, and you're keen on it.
Now, talking Jets stuff. I've said this before. I know I probably said it in the chat. There's 2 guys in this draft that I would trade up for from 10 as we stand. We don't have a lot of capital. I don't think we're going to trade up. But I'm saying there's 2 guys that I would mortgage either this draft picks this year or draft capital next year, and that's both of those receivers, Harrison or Neighbors. So you go get those guys. I'm all over it. But you're gonna have to jump up this high. You're gonna have to jump up to 4 or 5 to get them. So,
well, there goes the second best wide receiver on the board.
Yes, sir.
And now the Chargers are on the clock.
Yeah, so, and we know that the Chargers. This is probably a pick that's open for business. Where we already said Gunny's already set the parameters. We're not trading, so we're gonna stick and pick all the way through 1 through 32. So. All the guys that are saying, trade the pick, we ain't trading it. So
Yeah, there's no trades tonight. We're
yeah,
doing this one through 32.
yeah. And they got needs all over the place. They need
They
another tackle. They need weapons, big time weapons. They need everything on the defense, right? So you got you can go a plethora of different ways. So I'm keeping tabs for you, Gunny, on the chat. I see one Alt, I see one Latham, I see one Hall, I see one Bowers, I see one Olaf Shanu. It's crazy. You guys are all over the place here.
Yeah.
And that's okay, man.
Boom, draft. Alt.
I see a Dunze. I see another Latham.
Latham again. Wow. Latham has jumped up.
Yeah. So I forgot
boards.
who it was. Maybe it was Tannenbaum. Has been somebody mocked Latham up to the Chargers. And listen, here's another Fashanu. So I got two Fashanus. I got two Lathams. I got two Adunzes. I think those are the ones in the lead here.
Yep.
And here's the thing: they need a right tackle. And Gunny, that I'm all about team JC Latham. I love him.
You love
so the fit makes sense. Especially for the fact that you would think that Harbaugh wants to kind of run the ball and play defense. So that fit would make sense. But if so he could go here. You could also take a guy like Thalys Fuanga. He makes sense as well. But you also have Joe Alt. And listen, Joe Alt's a great prospect. He is my number one tackle. But you're asking him to kind of move over to the right side as opposed to go ahead and pluck in one of these guys that's here ready to produce on the right side. I don't know if I think it's more of a discussion than what we look at on paper. So I still see
it's tied for Latham.
I see Latham and Adunze taking the lead here.
Have a stud left tackle, so they would have a problem with right tackle. Okay.
They do have a problem at right tackle. Trey Pipkins ain't it, man. He ain't it. And Captain K Techno, he's right, man. They need weapons too.
Hey, what's up, Jets Afterburner? Thanks for joining us, man. Thanks for joining us.
Yeah, there's a Dunze. There's a third for Dunze.
Third for Dunze.
I think you go. That's the number 3, man. I think you go with a Dunze, dude.
A Dunze. That hurts my feelings, but all right. Well, there it is. Okay, so now a Dunze comes off the board, and there goes the big 3 when it comes to our wide receivers. So, how do you feel about the Chargers picking up a Dunze here?
Listen, like I said, realistically, I think that they'll. This is the first pivotal piece in the trade back situation. I don't think 1 through 4 trade. Maybe New England, if they get a Godfather deal, they'll trade out of 3. But I doubt it. I think this is the first one that's going to come into play. I think the team that wants to come up and get whichever quarterback falls, if a quarterback falls, or go and pluck JJ McCarthy if he's the 4th quarterback, I think this is the way to go. Listen, it's not out of the realm that the first 6 picks are 3 quarterbacks and 3 wide receivers. That's not out of the realm. And it looks like that's what we're headed towards here.
I mean, Dunze, I was really kind of hoping we got into that situation where he drops a 10 and then we had to make a decision as a fan base. Because I know as I'm seeing the board navigate right now with no trade backs, my stomach's getting a little tight because something tells me we might lean in the direction that's going to hurt my feelings. But I digress. I put the show in y'all hands, so be it.
That's right.
But yeah, man, a Dunze to me makes perfect sense in all actuality. This is literally a Mike Williams replacement, and I think he has a little bit more wiggle, like a Keenan Allen in terms of speed, and I like his route running a little bit better as well, a little more crisp. So he kind of semi-replaces 2 lost wide receiver ones for the Chargers, in a sense, in terms of he's going to give you the contested catch ability of a Mike Williams. He can go ahead and get underneath and go run the complete route tree like a freaking Keenan Allen. It makes a lot of sense, but it really hurts my feelings because
So my thing with Rome Odunze is I agree with everything that you said so far, Gunny. I question how he'll be able to release off of real physical
line.
press man
Yeah.
coverage off the line. Like that's going to be a problem, I think, for him. So that and listen, if he can come in and he can show or he can develop that aspect of his game, like the rest of it's not really in question. You're right. He's a contested catch freak. To me, I think he's probably a little better T. Higgins. Like that's a good pro comp for me. It's something similar to T. Higgins. So, and listen, is T. Higgins worth the 6th overall pick in a draft? I'm not sure. No. But you're not going to hate on it. If you get a guy like T. Higgins, you're not going to hate on it. I could see Odunze being, a 70, 80 catch, 1,100 yard with 7 touchdown guy year after year. And, not many people are gonna hate on that. I don't know if he'll ever be 100 catches, 1,500 yards, double-digit touchdowns like that. Like, he just doesn't have he doesn't force enough separation for me to think he can get to that point. He's your true boundary receiver. He's your big body X build. That's what he is.
All right. Well, the Giants are now on the clock. So we're at pick 6.
And it's already there's six picks for Jaden Daniels.
What? So we think after year 2, the the Daniels experiment is over, huh?
The Daniel Jones experience is. Listen, I wouldn't be surprised. Daniels. I would not be surprised, my friend.
Good point. I'm not hosting the. Am I missing? Okay, so Jaden. Yep. In fact, it seems like to be the consensus is Jaden. I don't see any other. Wow. Okay. Well, that was fast. Easy day. So with the 6th overall pick, the New York Giants go Jaden Daniels.
Yes, sir.
What you think about that, Dom?
Listen, quarterback's in play, man. These guys, Joe Shane and Brian Daboll, haven't selected their quarterback, right? Now, their seat is warm. Brian Daboll's seat is warm. Like last year, they didn't meet expectations. And, there was a lot of rumblings that a lot of that was self-induced on Daboll. So I think the way to kind of quiet that storm is kind of reinvigorate the fan base and reinvigorate the ownership, saying, hey, listen, you got to give us a chance to go get our guy and let us do this rebuild the right way. So they can get out of Daniel Jones next year relatively cheap. It's going to still cost them some dead money, but it's not going to cripple them. So quarterback's in play, man, for the Giants. That's the truth. I think they'd probably go receiver if one of those 3 were on the board, but if not, like this makes sense for me.
Okay, very well.
Yeah.
On the clock, we have the Tennessee Titans. I think we can all agree that there's no way an offensive tackle is going to pass these guys.
Nope, and I got 2 alts and 2 Fashanus so far.
Oh, neck and neck.
That's right.
All right.
We need some more people in the chat giving us.
I don't know what's going on. Like, there's 60 people currently viewing right now. I need y'all to get a little more involved, man. You guys are supposed to be leading the way here, making our job a little bit easier. I feel like we're having to buy more time for y'all to make a decision.
I think we can all safely assume at this point it's a left tackle. So which one 100%. Do you want? Which one do they like better? They want Alt or they want Fashanu?
So far we got,
and it's 4 alts to 2 Fashanus so far.
Yep.
Yeah.
And it's looking like that's going to be the call.
Yeah.
Callahan literally drooling. Nah, that's a good point. All right. Well, there he goes. That's and that sucks. With the 7th overall pick, the Tennessee Titans select Joe Alt, offensive tackle. This guy is him. Listen, I'm telling you, he's technically sound. I know a lot of people are concerned about his play strength, but that's what an NFL freaking weight room is for, right? To get a guy like this who's got all the fundamentals, he's got all the intangibles you want. The guy's a workhorse. He's you could put him on a poster, like he could be the face of your franchise. The kid is all around. A+, 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 A+. The play strength was the only real hit you can put on Joe Alt, at least from my perspective. That's the only thing I saw. I was like, got to get stronger at the next level, especially at left tackle. But again, an NFL weight room is especially for that. And this kid has the work ethic to go ahead and go to the roof. This is, to me, a future all-pro left tackle in the league, the next decade plus, man. that hurts because that means my two guys that I would trade up for are gone. I should be real. Like, this is gonna happen in real life, but nonetheless,
Yeah.
I
And
was
then you
hoping.
got Tennessee's, look at that. They built the left side of their line with Joe Alt and Peter Skoronski, man. They're
Yeah,
set. They're set for
that's
years,
solid.
bro.
That's solid left side.
They set for years, bro. So who's on
What's
the
your take
clock?
on Joe Alt?
Arizona, right?
You didn't give us. Did you give us your take on Joe Alt?
Listen, there's not much to do. I think you hit the nail on the head. I think, first off, he checks off every box you want in terms of size, speed, athleticism. I think he plays in balance. I think he's strong. I think he's much more of a pure run blocker than he is a pass blocker. I think there's still some room for improvement. You hit the nail on the head. The guy struggles against power. And I think that's all technical, man. He catches too much than he delivers his blow. So he's got to work a little bit more on his hand work. He's got to work on his strikes, his timing of his strikes, his punch placement. I think that there's not a lot to be done. Like, he's going to come in and he's going to be effective. It's not going to be without any warts. There's going to be some hiccups. I don't know if Joe Alt is as polished of a prospect. I don't feel, at least, Joe Alt is as polished of a prospect as you do, although we're both on the same page that he's probably the best overall tackle in this class. To me, it's a no-brainer here. That's, they need a left tackle. You go get the best one in the class in Joe Alt here.
Yeah, that's a huge win. I like this pick a lot,
Mm-hmm.
man. All right, well, the Falcons are now on the clock, and without even getting to it, I see a lot of y'all already know it's going to be an edge rusher.
I see one verse. I see two verse. I see
three verse.
I see one J.J. McCarthy. I see one Dallas Turner. I see two Dallas Turners.
I got three verse, one Dallas Turner. J.J. McCarthy, huh? Okay.
Yeah, I mean, hey, listen. They just paid Kirk Cousins big time
A
money.
lot. Yeah.
I think they're actually, don't they still have Taylor Heineke in camp? They're paying him.
I believe so. He's got 1 year left on his contract.
Yeah. Now I got one Byron Murphy here from Wild Wave. I see another Dallas Turner. And I think we're tied between Verse and Turner. So they're looking edge. They got a new boss running the defense here. And Verse just took it. You got E-Boogie came in with Bowers, but that's only one vote for Bowers, and that's a fourth verse by Captain Techno.
All right.
So they got a new defense in here. They're going to run a lot more odd man front. So, they got Arnold Ebiketie on one side. I think whatever pass rusher you put on the other side. Verse looks like it's going to be the pick. If it's me, Gunny, I think I lean the opposite way. I think I worry about the edge rusher later, and I probably go get some help in the cornerback room and pluck whatever cornerback I want off the board here for the Falcons. You
believe that the pick should definitely be defense for them, though?
I think the pick will be defense, especially since they just paid a lot of money to a bunch of wide receivers. I thought that would be I think that was an area of need. And for me, I think it was a perfect match made in heaven before free agency, Rome Odunze to go in there. But I don't know. Like, I think that it's going to be on the defensive side. I'm not sold yet on this edge class. Like, there's no one the guy I like in this edge class, maybe not my best, but the one guy that really stands out for me is Braylon Trice. I happen to be a big fan of his game, his motor, his size. He's a pressure monster. And this is too early for him. I mean, I don't expect him to go here first, but I think the other guys, I probably like Verse better than Turner by a little bit. Personally, I think there's something to be said about, his play strength and his ability to seal the edge as well as get at the passer. I just don't know if it's a perfect fit in the new I-man front scheme. You're going to move him inside like, in 5 tech like Leo Williams. You're going to have him stand up, which he normally doesn't do. So that's my only takeaway with Verse to the Falcons. But I get it. Like, he's good. So, and they've made their pick, and now the Bears are back up. So what do you do here, Gunny? Do you pair a quarterback that you just took with another offensive weapon? like like we should have done the year we drafted Sam Darnold and instead followed that up with a bunch of defensive players? Or do you say screw it and go still plug some other holes on your team? Which way would you lean for Chicago?
So if I'm being honest here, right? If there was a wide receiver, one of the top 3 guys here, I believe there's no way you pass up on the opportunity to surround your young quarterback with as many weapons as possible to make his life a little bit easier. But their offensive line is at best suspect, right? And I think that's going to be an area of need. And again, if you can't get him weapons, the next best thing is for you to go ahead and get him offensive line help. I personally think the smart play here would be to go offensive line. But if I'm thinking like the Chicago Bears, I think they might fall in love with Brock Bowers. I think that the Brock Bowers experiment for them, they'll see a guy that can go ahead and allow Caleb Williams to get the ball out of his hands quickly and allow him to create. And they could potentially run with a Brock Bowers on this one. So for me, if I'm being honest, I think they're going to go offensive line, or they should go offensive line. But for some reason, my gut tells me they're going to go Brock Bowers because he's here at number 9.
Yeah, so I just did I did a full round mock draft kind of predictive on my channel, just myself. I just ran through it, and Brock Bowers was actually my pick to the Bears here. New offense coordinator coming from Seattle, Shane Waldron, loves 12 personnel. You got your inline guy, already in Cole Kmet. You can now add that flex, that hybrid, that H-back, big slot in Brock Bowers. To me, that's the way I would go. But I agree with you that I think, offensive line, I know they spent a high pick last year on a right tackle. I know that they have, what is his name? Let me look it up real quick because I'm drawing a blank here. Who is at left tackle for them? It is Braxton Jones, who can slide inside the guard as well. You know what I mean? So, yeah, they got Darnell right on the right side. For me, I wouldn't be mad if it was Olu Fashanu here. That makes a lot of sense too.
Makes sense. Yep.
But I think Brock Bowers is kind of, you got Brock Bowers, you get DJ Moore, and you get Keenan Allen on the field together. That's a lot of weapons for a rookie quarterback. You know what I mean?
Right.
So.
Yeah, and I think Brock Bowers is the choice, and it looks like he would be the win.
Yeah.
We got one Turner. I got 3 Bowers so far, 1 Turner, 1 McCarthy, 1 for shot, 4 Bowers now.
That's it.
Yep.
Let it go, baby. Bowers
I'm
it is.
I'm not going to argue with it. Bowers it is. Okay. And with the 9th overall pick, Brock Bowers goes to the Chicago Bears.
Yes, sir.
Thank goodness. All right. And now for the pick that truly matters to us, the 10th overall pick. What say the viewers? There's no Brock Bowers for y'all to pick from.
Listen, don't pick an edge. That's all I'm saying. You want to see the world freak out? Don't pick an edge.
Dallas Turner. I'll lose my mind. I will lose my mind. Yeah. But it's frustrating because it's something that I could also see Joe Douglas doing to us.
Yeah.
Because
all right, I see one. I see one Olu. I see one Latham.
All right. I see a Fashanu.
Yeah, I see 2 Olus and 1 Latham so far. Get your votes in, people.
Yeah, this is it. This is the one y'all been waiting for.
I see 3 Olu Fashanu.
You know what, Daniel? That's why you can't have nice things. That's why.
I see 4 Olu Fashanus. I think you can call it, bro.
All right. And yeah. All right. And the New York Jets with the 10th overall pick, they get our guy Olu Fashanu.
That's right.
That's beautiful. I love that.
Yeah. Hey, listen, man. I'm not going to complain if it's Olu Fashanu. Like I said, I have him. Him and Latham for me are a coin flip for who's offensive tackle number 2. I think they're completely different players. You get the strength and the power concept from Latham. I think Latham has a little bit more positional flexibility because I think he can play not only right guard or right tackle, but I think he could play left tackle as well. I'm confident in his footwork. I'm confident in his his hands and the grip strength and the latch that he has is second to none. So I think Latham can transition to play left tackle. He can also give you some guard flexibility if AVT's not not ready yet, man. But Fashanu, man, Fashanu, however you want to call it, there's a lot to like in his game, man. He's got the length. He's young. He mirrors as well as anybody. I think he's still needs a little bit more technical polish in terms of what he does to defend counter rushes. He's got a little bit what we call in the scout game, Gunny, a little passive inside hand. So he'll set, and sometimes it's a little bit overset, like he goes over his mark, which opens up the inside, and he doesn't strike with that hand. He strikes both hands at the time. He doesn't use his hands. He uses his hands simultaneously, not individually. So he'll set, and as he oversets, he's hitting with two hands. And as he's pulling back, he opens up that inside. His inside gets passive. So that's something that's definitely going to need to be improved. I think he also needs to spend some time in the weight room and get a little bit more core functional strength. But the ceiling's sky high. Like, he could be the best tackle in this class, 5 years from now. So
that's been my argument this entire time. I think when I look at him, I see the best combination of all the skills you want in your offensive lineman. And I'm with you. I don't think he's as refined right now as a Joe Alt, or he's going to go ahead and have some growing pains. But I think he's the perfect individual to get to sit behind a guy like a Tyron Smith and learn, right? I can only imagine what Tyron could do with a kid like that to kind of mold him into his replacement. I love this pick, man. I see Dano asking if I'm mad. No, I love this. This to me is if not a Dunze, this is my other pick. I think this is going to be the most realistic situation for the Jets in terms of the 10th overall. I love the kid. I actually started convincing myself that I might have wanted him more than Joe Alt, and then I grew up and realized that it was just some of the pancakes that I was really falling in love with, and I had to step back a little bit. But Fashanu for me, man, like, I think he's offensive tackle too, after Joe Alt. So for him to drop here to the Jets and get to sit behind Tyron Smith for a few games, and I gotta ask you this, Dom, for the individuals who are saying, oh my God, why would you draft an offensive tackle? He's just gonna sit there and be a waste of a 10th overall pick, as if the New York Jets haven't had the most rotations and offensive line over the last several years. In fact, compliments to Matt O'Leary. He actually posted something today. Literally in the last 5 years, the New York Jets have had double-digit rotations at offensive line 4 out of 5 years. And that 5th year, it was 9 rotations vice 10. So, I don't understand the logic of, like, hey, Tyron Smith hasn't been healthy for the last 10 years for a whole season, but he's going to be this year, as if whoever this guy who we pick here is not going to get some game time.
Yeah. So listen, man, here's my take. And I agree with you. Like I said, I'd be happy. I'd be content with Olu. He wouldn't be my choice if you had a gun to my head and say, pick a tackle for 2024, because it's going to be a tackle. It might not be Olu. And I think what I touched on a little bit before is reasons why. Like, I think there's guys in this draft in Latham and Fontenot, in Fuanga, who can give you inside and outside flexibility. Because again, we know we know the history with Tyron Smith, right? He hasn't played a full season since 2015. You don't expect him to play a full season this year. Hey, listen, you need to take some time off in the middle of the season. Big guy, have at it. Get healthy for the playoffs. Morgan Moses, we love Morgan Moses. But it's come out in February that he had shoulder surgery, or he's contemplating shoulder surgery for an injury. So there's that. Then you got your guard, who hasn't stayed healthy in 2 years, coming off of a torn Achilles, playing a position where he needs to drive force from the ground up. We don't know how he's going to react. That's keeping it 100, man. We don't know if AVT is going to be back to the AVT we all knew and loved.
That's a good point. That's a
good
point.
For me, if I'm taking an offensive lineman in the first round, I'm getting a guy that, can bounce inside if AVT's not healthy, can move outside if Tyron Smith needs some rest, or can plug in on the right side if there happens to be something wrong with Moses. And for me, I think those other 3 guys can fit all of those bills, more so than Olu Fashanu. I'm not mad with Fashanu, like I said, because I think there's no perfect prospect in here. There's no one outside of maybe Marvin Harrison's probably the closest thing to perfect in this draft class. But I think you get a little bit more versatility and flexibility, and guys that can see the field earlier, whether if it's at left tackle, right guard, or right tackle in the other guys. So, again, ideal, drop down a couple picks, take, pick your poise and get some more draft capital. But to trade down, you got to have someone that wants to trade
Willing
up.
to.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, we're at pick 11. The Minnesota Vikings are on the clock.
Mm-hmm.
I saw a couple of individuals already say Latham going
to Minnesota.
to Minnesota.
Oof.
I mean, they do.
Listen. I don't know about a right tackle there.
Right.
And listen, I'm not saying if Latham's a good player, so I'm not knocking him. But man, you got a quarterback staring you in the face. You can't really be confident in Sammy Darnold running the show all year, right? You got to, if there's a quarterback in arm's reach, I think you got to go get him. That's what
I'm gonna lie to you. I think the majority of us forgot that Kirk Cousins is no longer there, because for a moment I did forget that Kirk Cousins is no longer in Minnesota.
Yeah.
With that being said, Kirk Cousins is not there. Sam Darnold is currently the starting quarterback for the Minnesota Vikings.
That's it.
And
you got some weapons. Here? You got. I mean, it's got to. For me, it's a no-brainer. It's JJ McCarthy. I think that ultimately he is a Viking come April. I think he's the one that they're the team that trades up with probably the Chargers or maybe even the Giants to go up and get him. So,
okay, I got DKBX Jets with JJ McCarthy.
Yeah,
I don't see anybody else really giving any input on this one. I think everybody stopped caring once the Jets were off the board since we couldn't trade back.
Yeah.
Is that what happened? True. I lost you guys. The Jets couldn't trade back, so we decided, all right, I'm done.
Well, listen, we'll take the reins here then, buddy.
Yeah, let's do the thing. Let's do the darn thing.
Yeah, let's go McCarthy here. For me, if he's on the board, it's a no-brainer.
Oh. All right. JJ McCarthy is a Minnesota Viking.
Yeah.
All right. So tell us about JJ's game. What do you like? What don't you not like?
Man, I like JJ. I know a lot of people don't, and a lot of people are sour on him. Man, when you talk about there's two quarterbacks in this draft, that are kind of flying under the radar because they're not Caleb Williams, they're not Drake May, so on and so forth. You talked about one of them before in Spencer Rattler, but I think JJ McCarthy kind of fits the same bill. They happen to be my quarterback 4, my quarterback 5 in that order, McCarthy and then Rattler. That I think that these guys are going to be much better pros than they were in college. Now, listen, McCarthy wasn't asked to do much. That's a fact. You know what I mean? But I don't think it was necessarily because he lacked something. I actually think that his skill set shows more pro quarterback than a lot of the guys. Some of the names that went up before him. He's got a good arm. He can throw. He throws the ball with zip. He throws in NFL open windows. Really tight windows. I think he's a good athlete. I think he's a really good athlete. And then, like I talked about Drake May and how he throws with anticipation. Drake May is a little bit more of a spot thrower. JJ McCarthy is a little bit more. He throws with good anticipation as well, but not necessarily just a spot throw. When I'm talking about throw like a spot thrower, think of Tua Tagovailoa. He's not throwing guys open. He's throwing to a spot and he's assuming that the offense is schemed that guy is going to be there. JJ McCarthy throws with good anticipation and he throws his guys open. You know what I mean? I like the pace that he takes. He knows when to zip it. He knows when to take a little bit off of it. And to me, I think the guy's a winner. You know what I mean? I like the makeup of JJ McCarthy. Just turned 21 years old. To me, he's got franchise quarterback written all over him.
Yeah, so me and my brother-in-law, we actually had a whole conversation about this watching the college football playoffs this past season. And I told him, I was like, this kid, JJ McCarthy, is going to be a first-round pick. He laughed at me. He was like, that dude is not going to be a first-round pick. The defense carried him, the running game. And I was just like, I'm telling you, this dude screams freaking professional quarterback, like a franchise of a quarterback. Again, it's the intangibles matter a lot, I think, at the quarterback position. The ability to go ahead and be level-headed. I like his processing speed. The kid seems to have a high IQ, football IQ. I did feel like his arm strength in certain aspects was lacking in terms of being able to get the ball to the hashes. But overall, like you said, he anticipates very well, so he can go out and kind of make up for that. I like JJ, man, and again, when you have a kid that has that mentality of trying to get better each and every day, you can work with that. You can coach that up. So again, I'm glad to see that he is going to be a first rounder, let alone a high first rounder.
Yeah, and listen, I will say this about J.J. McCarthy: he's not a guy that I want to turn the keys over to right away. I want him on the Jordan Love path.
Right.
Like it's still develop, still get kind of fine tune some of those mechanical issues that that he does have. Like he has a tendency to throw very well to the right, but not very well to the left. And that might just be a mental thing. I don't know, but yeah, you got Sam Darnold in there. Let Sam Darnold steer the bus and get ready to hand over the keys next year or the year after to a guy like J.J. McCarthy. But I absolutely think that he could be a couple years from now he could be a face of the franchise.
Nice.
So
I'll be keeping an eye on that kid.
And we're on to Denver. So I'm trying to catch up. I see DKB Jets has Bo Nix. I see
we got a Dallas Turner.
Yeah.
Murphy has Broncos.
And I see another Dallas Turner.
Yep.
They could go. Listen, Denver can go a bunch of different ways. I mean, they're up Schitt's Creek. Like you might be looking at the number 1 overall pick next year.
Next year, 100%.
They're swallowing their medicine right now with all that dead cap. They lost a lot of draft capital. Like they're taking a bath hard. They got no weapons. Outside of Cortland Sutton. Actually, Javonte Williams is still there. He's coming back. Yeah. Cortland Sutton doesn't want to be there. It's in the last year. Their defense needs help, man. They got some holes. They got some problems up there in Denver. So I'm glad we play them this year.
It's gonna be fun.
I think we do play them, right?
We do play them this year. We do, but they're coming to us this year, so that's a plus. They're coming to us.
Yeah.
Honestly, man, in terms of this, and like you just said, right, there's so many pieces right now that they got to go ahead and get right, and they could go anywhere. I tend to lean the quarterback route only because I'm looking at next year's quarterback draft class, and I'm not gonna lie to you, man, it looks very mid, like extremely mid. And if you're gonna be the first overall pick next year, I think having to waste that pick on a potential guy like Sanders or something like that. I don't
Shedeur
know.
Sanders, Carson Beck from Georgia. Yeah. I mean, they're good. They're good. Listen, Shedeur Sanders might be exactly what the doctor ordered in Denver, though. Staying home in Colorado after playing for University of Colorado. That might
butts
be
in the seats. That's a good point.
That might be an avenue they like to look at. But yeah, listen, to me again, I think this is a perfect spot. If the board fell like it did, I think this is a perfect spot that they could trade down and they could take Bo Nix late in the 20s. But I mean, Bo Nix looks like it's taking it here. And,
well, it's tied right now, Bo Nix and Dallas Turner. So I'm going to go ahead and give it to you. We got 2 for Bo Nix and 2 for Dallas Turner.
I'll take Bo Nix for them. Listen, 12 might be rich, but this is the they need the quarterback. You ain't starting Jarrett Stidham, are you?
Yeah,
exactly.
And it sounded like at the GM coaches meeting and whatnot when they asked Peyton about it, he was like, "Oh yeah, we've got some things in the works for quarterback." No, you don't. The draft is your the things in the works. Now it wouldn't surprise me if they would find a way to trade up to go ahead and get a guy like a JJ or something like that. But I think quarterback makes the most sense for them. You don't have a team if you don't have a quarterback. That's where it starts and is where it ends. And ultimately, I got more question marks about next year's draft class than I do with a guy like a Bo Nix. So what do you think about Bo Nix?
So here's what I think about Bo Nix. I love his athleticism. I question guys that come from offenses where they're not asked to do much as quarterbacks. Hear me out. Not that I'm not knocking the guy's talent. I don't think he's got the arm strength of the 4 quarterbacks that went before him. I don't. I think he's got plus mobility. He's probably more of a dual threat. More of a runner. Can do more with his legs than say McCarthy, who's very athletic, or May, who's very athletic. I think he can do more there. But I just question to me, like you look at his ADOT, his average depth of target on a team that's going to scheme guys open all over the field, that wonky offense that Oregon ran. And he just consistently looked to check down. Like there's something that doesn't align with Bo Nix's processing abilities. At the next level. He struggled at Auburn. He was young. He went to Oregon. The stats looked great, but I don't know if he was ever a really good quarterback. I think he was probably just a better athlete than anybody else on the field. And the Oregon offense, they had a great offensive line. They had weapons all over the place and phenomenal coaching that just kind of forced guys open. So I am not the biggest Bo Nix guy. I have him 7th in my quarterback rankings.
Okay.
I do have him behind Michael Penix, Spencer Rattler, JJ McCarthy, and the top 3. So I think he's going to go. Quarterbacks get drafted, ahead. Quarterbacks get overdrafted all the time. So I'd still probably see a landing spot with a team like Denver or a team like the Raiders. Maybe they trade up into the end of the first round and take him. But that's what I'm getting out of Bo Nix. I'm getting, he's probably a better college quarterback than he'll ever be in the pros.
Okay, fair enough. Bo Nix is the selection, and now the Raiders are on the clock.
Mm-hmm.
I see we're already going defense for the Raiders. We've got one
Terrion
Arnold.
Huh? Mm-hmm. Interesting. I think the Raiders can go defense. I think they can go defensive back. I think they can go defensive line, which is definitely, you put somebody next to Christian Wilkins in there, you got to, and Max Crosby, you got a force there. You got a problem on that defensive line. So I think both of those make sense.
Still out there.
Yeah. I think you also, I think this is a good spot for a right tackle. They lost Jermaine Illuminor, and you got a ton of good right tackles, whether it's Latham Fuanga, Troy Fontenot. You got a lot of those.
Latham is still there, your favorite guy.
Yeah, Latham's still there. So there's a bunch of different ways that you can go here. If I'm the GM, I'd probably go offensive line, but they got a defensive head coach. So if I'm predicting, I'd say they'd probably lean towards the defense. And I think DKB hit it right and probably going defensive back. So it just matters which one you like, right? If you want a you want a man cover guy, a guy that can play inside and outside, then you take Terrion Arnold. If you want a guy that's a little bit more physical but can also excel in off coverage or zone, then you go Quinyon Mitchell. So they're taking their first cornerback off the board. In my eyes.
All right.
Yep.
So then we're gonna go with one of the cornerbacks. Which one? Well, we got, I guess, just the one cornerback here in Terrion Arnold.
I see cornerback. Yeah, I mean, if we're listen again, I think it's really realistic that they could lean tackle, but with the defensive head coach, you need to put some talent in that DB room. So, I probably Terrion Arnold works for me. Let's just pluck him off the board.
All right, and there it is. The Raiders select Terrion Arnold, first cornerback off the board. Mm-hmm. And now again, we're on to the Saints. Like I said,
he's a press man. He's a press man guy. There's not a lot that he doesn't do well. And what I like about Arnold is that he gives you inside and outside versatility. Like you could he can man up in the slot. He can man up outside. I think he's a really, really physical, good tackler, and he's got great ball skills. So there's not a whole lot that Terrion Arnold not to like. And then who's up here? The Saints?
That's correct. The Saints are up. They are on the clock.
Yeah, the Saints got holes, brother. They just found out that Ryan Ramczyk is not going to be, might not be physically cleared, can't pass a physical, so he might be out. Their lone tackle on that team is Trevor Penning, who is cheeks, man. He is so bad.
Straight booty cheeks. Okay.
Booty cheeks. So it's got to be offensive line. Just matters which one you want. And I see a Fuaga. I see a Fontenot.
Yep.
So, and like I said, this is probably a spot, and it's pick your poison. Do you want a guy that can play left side? Then you go Fontenot. If you want a guy that play right side, you go Fuaga or Latham. And if you want another guy who play left side, then you can even talk about Armarius Mims. He's not out of the question here either. Some people like him better than Olaf Fashanu as a prospect.
Yeah. I've seen those mock drafts.
Yeah.
All right, so then we've got two options here. I see that we're getting a little bit of a slowdown in terms of participation. We got DK still going strong, and we got Daniel.
Thank you, DK. Thank you, Daniel.
We appreciate you guys, man. Y'all making life easy.
Yeah.
So they gave you two options, Dom. Which route you going between Troy and Fuaga?
Yeah, I'm gonna go Fontenot here. I'm gonna go Fontenot for the reason that, and not to say that you don't need a right tackle replacement for Ramczyk, but man, at worst, what I'm doing is I'm kicking Trevor Pennon over to the right side, and at least I'm plugging in my blind side protector. So I'm going to go Troy Fontenot. And even if he doesn't work at tackle, you can bounce him inside the guard, which they do have to replace as well. Andres Pete is going elsewhere, so they got a lot of holes on the offensive line. For me, I'm going to take Troy Fontenot and move on.
Okay, perfect. Yeah. On to the Colts. With the 15th overall pick, the Colts have needs at offensive line, wide receiver, and cornerback.
So yeah, the Colts are an interesting team here. I think if he falls, this would be a great Brock Bowers landing spot. But you talked about it, man. That defensive back room is ass right now, man. It is so bad. You're banking on Juju Brents figuring out and becoming your cornerback one. You get Dallas Flowers there. I know they just paid Kenny Moore, but he's a slot only guy. You lost your safeties, your starting safeties now. You lost both your starting safeties. So now you got Nick Cross, who's a nice player, but he's third round pick, I think 2 years ago out of Maryland. Nice player, still developing. You got no free safety to even, really write home about. For me, man, it's defensive back, which way you go. Daniel Murphy kind of hits the way I would go, and that's Quinyon Mitchell, But I will say this, a guy like Cooper DeJean also makes a lot of sense because he offers you safety, nickel, and outside corner flexibility, kind of like that chess piece. So for me, I'd probably lean between one of those guys, and I'd gun to my head, I'd probably go here Quinyon Mitchell and take the talent, the top talent off the board and plug him in, and he's your CB1, and you hope to figure out Juju Brents on the other side. It probably calls for a lot of zone coverage, which is right up Quinyon Mitchell's alley. He was a zone scheme corner for his whole collegiate career.
Well, right now we've got one and one for Penix, one for Quinyon, and one for Turner. And you're going to be the decider here. We're going to go with Quinyon Mitchell.
Quinyon Mitchell, yeah. Toledo guy. Everyone questioned whether he could come in and play against the big dogs. But, man, Gunny, he came down to Mobile at the Senior Bowl, and he ate. No, he
really?
Ate. He was
you got to see him in person.
Got to see him in person, the most dominant defensive player in Mobile the whole entire week. Hands down, the most dominant defensive player in Mobile. I saw him lose one rep, and that was probably it was a great matchup too. It was, I think, the last practice. Yeah, I think it was the Wednesday practice. That wasn't the last one, but it was the end of Wednesday practice. Ulbrich called Quinyon Mitchell to the middle of the field, and everyone huddled around. Both teams called out, and they said, pick your receiver. I want you to go one-on-one against him. He picked Roman Wilson. Roman Wilson ended up toasting him. Roman Wilson made the. I got a clip. I got it on video. I'll send you a cut of the clip. Quinyon Mitchell does slip, but he did get beat pretty good by there. But that's probably the only rep that he lost all week, man. He was so good. So
wow.
Quinyon Mitchell, don't be surprised if you see him go top 10.
Wow, that good.
Yeah. I think he could go in the top 10. I think he'd be the first corner off the board. I wouldn't be surprised if he's the pick for Atlanta at 8.
Very well. Well, here we are. Seahawks are on the board, and it looks like we've got some Dallas Turner fans going to the Seahawks.
Yeah, he makes sense there, man. It's either going to be Turner or it's going to be an interior guy. Fontenot would have been a good fit, staying home in Washington. You could talk Fuanga here if you want to play him inside at guard to start. But Dallas Turner also, you bring another guy outside opposite of what the guy's there. Who's the pass rusher there? Is it Udechi? Is that his name? What am I thinking? Boye Mafe. I'm sorry.
Mafe, yeah.
Boye Mafe, yeah. Right. Yeah. But you got a lot of Turner love here. To me, yep. I'm not gonna argue that. Take Dallas Turner. Bring another element of speed and physicality to the pass rush. Something that Seattle hasn't had. Listen, new coaching staff, new defensive philosophy coming from that Baltimore system last year. They're gonna come at you in all different ways and shapes, and a guy like Turner is just gonna add to that, man.
Awesome. All right.
Yeah.
Dallas Turner is officially off the board. And now on the clock, we've got the Jaguars, who also need edge help, offensive tackle help, a cornerback, and safety.
And listen, I think another sneaky need here is wide receiver. Gabe Davis ain't it, bro. Gabe Davis ain't it. He ain't it. They got Zay Jones, they got Gabe Davis. They got what's his face? Oh my God, why am I blanking on somebody help me in the chat? The slot corner who came from Arizona last year, big time contract. Somebody help me out.
Hollywood Brown?
No, not Hollywood Brown. I'll find it. I can't think of his name right now. I'm drawing a blank. But they do need some defensive help, defensive back help. You could probably plug in Christian Kirk. That's what I'm talking about. So you bring in a guy like Christian Kirk's going to be your slot guy. So you bring in Gabe Davis. You figure he's going to be on the outside. I know DKB is talking 80 Mitchell, man. I think that's the way I would lean if it was on the offensive side. On the defensive side, you can pick your poison on the defensive back. Slot corner, an outside corner. Right now they got Tyson Campbell, and that's about it. I know that they brought in Darnell Savage they signed Darnell Savage to play strong safety from Green Bay. So you got a good safety pairing in Andre Sisco and Darnell Savage. I think you're set there. I think you really need another outside corner, preferably first. And there's guys here that I like. There's guys like Kool-Aid McKinstry would kind of fit that bill. I'm trying to think of some other outside corner ready guys. Ennis Rakestraw out of Missouri, I think is a good fit. Yeah, Cooper DeJean's, I think I don't know if I like him on the outside as much as they do at slot or at safety, and I don't think that they're going to probably lean that way. To me, it's between a wide receiver or a guy like Kool-Aid McKinstry or Ennis Rakestraw, who are true outside corners.
Okay. So we've got one for Adonai Mitchell, and we've got one for Cooper DeJean. So the floor is yours, Dom. Where are we going for the Jaguars?
Listen, your franchise is Trevor Lawrence. I'm going to give him more weapons and try to build the defense a little bit later. So give me 80 Mitchell. I love that pick here. Yeah, I listen. You can argue Brian Thomas as well, but we talked 80 Mitchell here. So I will say 80 Mitchell. I like it. I have 80 Mitchell ranked personally higher than Brian Thomas. I know I'm one of the few, but he's been my wide receiver 4 probably since December.
Yeah, if you don't mind, because I know we've talked about it, but explain why you got so much love for this kid.
So not only is he height, speed, he's got all that. He's the Denzel Mims package. We talked about the measurables and the speed and all that. That's what AD Mitchell does. But what I like about him most is what he can do getting off of that line. I have a tendency to. He's not only a deep threat. He's a guy that can create separation at 6'2", 205, 10 pounds. I see a lot of CeeDee Lamb in his game. I think he's a blend of CeeDee Lamb and Michael Pittman. He's an X, but he can move a little bit more. He can run routes. He wasn't asked to run a ton. He's not the most nuanced route runner, but he'll go up and get him. He's going to make those aggressive athletic catches. He's a red zone threat right off the get-go. For me, I think he's a guy 5 years from now, you could talk about him just like we did when Justin Jefferson got drafted in the 20s. No one really thought much about him, and then he proved his worth in the NFL. I think that's going to be a guy like A.D. Mitchell, man.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well,
and he catches everything. Big catch radius. Less than a 2% drop rate all throughout college.
Okay, Adonai Mitchell. Keep him in mind for fantasy football.
Yes, sir.
Right. The Bengals are now on the clock. Pick 18. They, of course, need offensive tackle help. Actually, they've put some money into our offensive line. I'm actually surprised that offensive tackle is still considered.
Yeah,
a
well,
need
they
for
signed
them.
Trent Brown, so I don't know if that's a stopgap. I don't know if that's if that's just for depth. So
Gotcha.
right tackle would make sense for them. But I also think you got to worry about listen, they're gonna have to replace not only what's his face in the slot that they lost. Oh my god, my brain's not working. Who's the receiver that they lost? The Jets were talking about. All the Jets
Oh, T
fans were talking.
Higgins.
No, not T Higgins. The other guy in the slot.
Oh, Tyler Boyd.
Tyler Boyd, yeah. You're also going to have to replace T. Higgins next year because you're probably not going to franchise him a second time. So this is where I would probably lean a guy like Brian Thomas Jr. But right tackle also makes sense. You got guys like Latham and Fuanga still on the board, man.
And looking like right now, we've got one for JPJ.
Okay.
We've got one for Latham. Yeah, Daniel Latham is still available.
Latham is still available. He is, Daniel Murphy.
So I think he's about to switch his to Latham. The way he just asked that question so quickly.
Yeah.
So if Daniel confirms Latham, we're going to go with Latham. Waiting for him to type it out. Okay.
And there's a third Latham.
There's a third Latham.
Yeah, listen, you can't go wrong there. Like, to me, it makes sense, and now you got a viable swing in you got a viable swing tackle in Trent Brown who can fill in on the left side or right side if you need him. You got Orlando Brown still holding down left tackle, and now you got 3 good tackles there if you bring Latham in. So, J.C. Latham, welcome to the Bengals, brother.
He's a Bengal. On the clock now is the L.A. Chargers.
No, L.A. Rams.
L.A. Rams. I still struggle with that every time.
Yeah.
Yep. Pick number 19. We are on the clock. They need defensive line help, linebacker help, cornerback help, and safety. Pretty much a depleted defense.
Yeah. So I'll say this: they did sign 2 free agent cornerbacks. They signed Darius Robinson, I believe, and today they just signed Trey White. They gave him 1 year, 8.5 guaranteed, up to $11 million. So. Listen, I don't think that's, I think that's stopgap stuff. I think that's Band-Aids on a bullet hole. But the big elephant in the room that you got to replace is Aaron Donald, right?
Yep. You just brought that up.
Yeah, and you still need another pass rusher to go opposite of Byron Young. Chop Robinson, I see DKB talking about him. He makes sense. This is a little rich for me on Chop Robinson personally. I think Chop Robinson is, I think he's a really, really good pass rush situational defensive end. I don't know if he's a scheme fit here in the Rams. If I'm thinking the Rams, if I'm thinking edge, I'm thinking Leatu Latu is a perfect fit. But I might tend to lean inside. You talk about guys like Byron Murphy. You talk about guys like Jerzon Newton that could, step in and fill the role left from Aaron Donald. To me, that's the way I would lean. And I wouldn't rule out left tackle here. I wouldn't rule out an Armarius Mims. That's the one spot that they haven't addressed on the offensive line is the tackle spot. They jacked up the middle. They brought in Jonah Jackson. You got Steve Avila now moving over to center. They paid Kevin Dotson. So the interior of the line's locked down. Tackle is still a need. I don't know if they'll reach for a tackle here, especially with the hole that they have there on the defense, whether it's at edge or defensive line. So for me, I'm staying on the defensive side of the ball. And I'd probably replace Aaron Donald. That's the way I'd lean. So
right now we got one for Murphy, one for Chop Robinson. Yeah, we're gonna go with one for Latham, so we're gonna go with how do you feel about Murphy as the replacement for Aaron Donald?
Yeah. Like I said, Murphy or Johnny Newton. I think they're both equally very good to step in at that 3 tech. Whichever one you want to go. The chat likes Murphy, so Byron Murphy, welcome to Los Angeles, brother.
Boom, and the Steelers are on the clock.
Mm-hmm. Steelers for me, it's still offensive line or cornerback. I think those are the 2 needs that they have to fill. In offensive line, you can go in the middle. You want to take a JPJ. You want to take another tackle like a Mims and play him opposite, play him on the right side, opposite of Broderick Jones. You could do that. Or you can go take cornerback and kind of finally, fill or stop trying to patch up
Patrick
that
Peterson.
leaky defense there. So, Nate Wiggins would be a great pick here. JPJ, I think, would be a great pick as well. I don't know. I think tackle might be another way to move. You still need a left tackle. Yeah, unless you're going to move Broderick Jones over there, then you need a right tackle. But they've put together some pieces. They brought in Deshaun Elliott from Miami to play strong safety opposite Minkah Fitzpatrick. They traded for Donta Jackson from Carolina, so they got a placeholder at the cornerback position to play opposite Joey Porter. For me, the decisions come between the offensive line or the cornerback. So,
well, it looks like we've got one JPJ. We got a Nate Wiggins. Yep, that's it thus far. So,
and you got an Armarius Mims here from Cyrus. I like that. I like that play too.
Well, you got 1-1-1. Unless somebody picks
next one that comes in, whoever gets 2 first wins it.
We need one more. Oh, and we went with Fuaga instead.
Fuaga's still on the board. He is. What do you think, Gunny? Which way would you lean?
I honestly, knowing how much they put towards defense, my brother's a huge Steelers fan. I would like to go the cornerback route. I think that, like you said it perfectly, man. The whole situation with Patrick Peterson, little band-aid job they've done in the secondary, it's concerning. Some people say receiver, but I think that they're going to make a move for. I don't know, man. Talking to my brother, I believe they're in the conversation for getting their hands on old dude from the 49ers. I don't know why I'm having a brain fart.
Debo?
Not Debo, the other one.
Brandon Ayuk.
Ayuk, thank you. Yeah, so they're in the conversation in terms of that. You've seen Ayuk kind of communicating via Twitter about Mike Tomlin and stuff, so I think there's some steam to that. And I like George Pickens. George Pickens was, to me, one of the better receivers in the draft. I love their tight end. I think, again, with the Mike Tomlin mentality, you want to secure the defensive side of the ball.
Yeah, and now you got Arthur Smith as the offensive coordinator in there, and that he's not too keen about throwing the ball all over the place. Like,
loves to run the ball.
He wants to run the ball and utilize those little West Coast simulated mesh concepts, a lot of crossing patterns, a lot of tight end usage, which they got 2 good ones. So, yes, they need another receiver. I know they signed Quez Watkins, who's just a guy.
Yeah,
to play in the slot. But I still think that it's got to be on the defense or on the offensive line.
Yeah, I'm gonna go with DK on this one, man. I'm gonna go with Nate Wiggins.
Nate Wiggins.
And
listen, I think that's great. He's physical, man. He's small. He's small, but he's a dog. He's physical, and you get 2 guys that can get up there in your face. And play nasty press man coverage in Nate Wiggins and JPJ. Even if you got to bounce Nate Wiggins inside to the slot for a little bit, it's not a bad that's not a bad scenario to have. You got Donta Jackson there that can kind of hold the fort on the outside. You move Nate Wiggins inside for a year or so. That's the way I'd go to. I like that. I like cornerback here.
All right. Well, we're going to take over now with the last 12 or 11 picks. It's gone on we're going on hour and a half, pushing 2 hours soon. So I appreciate you down for the time, brother. So we're going to go ahead and pretty much kind of cycle through these last 12 picks here.
Let's rock.
The Miami Dolphins are on the clock. They need offensive tackle. They need offensive guard. They need edge.
They need a center.
They need a center. They're right now in a situation where they lost some really key pieces in the offseason. How do you see the Miami Dolphins utilizing this pick to go ahead and replace some of those lost pieces?
Yeah, well, I think you hit the nail on the head. They also got to replace Christian Wilkins, but they did spend a lot of money on the defense. Last year, re-signing some guys. For me, unfortunately, I mean that as a Jets fan. This to me is a no-brainer. I run JPJ right up to the board, and I secure my center. And even if you want to bring back Connor McGovern after he proves healthy, You can bounce JPJ inside the guard. But yeah, JPJ is the pick for me here.
Okay. All right. I want to say good night to Daniel, man. Appreciate you for chopping it up with us. I know it's gotten a little late, which is why we're trying to speed this along a little bit. Get you all to bed.
Yeah.
All right. Eagles are on the board, Dom. Where are we going?
Eagles need a cornerback. Eagles need some depth. You know what they like to do on the interior. And this is gonna be my pick for the Eagles. It's a little bit outside of the scope of the norm, but I'm gonna tell you why I'm gonna take it. And the pick's gonna be Tyler Guyton, the offensive tackle out of Oklahoma. Guyton's an Oklahoma boy. So is Lane Johnson. Lane Johnson happens to be Guyton's mentor. Those two are very similar in play style and size and speed, and athleticism. I think this is a perfect situation where you bring a guy in, he sits, he redshirts, he learns from the best, and probably takes over for Lane Johnson next year. Tyler Guyton's my pick.
Okay, awesome. The Vikings are back on the clock.
Vikings are back on the clock. I'm not even going to hesitate here. I'll probably go on the defensive side of the ball. Who did we take last time for him? We took JJ McCarthy.
Yep.
Yeah. Now go ahead and give me some beef on that defensive side. You have, let me just pull this up real quick. Let me see what I'm working with. Yeah, Flores likes to go get it. He needs another defensive tackle. Johnny Newton is the guy I'm taking here. You have Grenard, who's gonna take on the outside. Harrison Phillips is getting up there in age on the interior. You need a running mate there. You need somebody who can press from the inside. Johnny Newton's going to be my pick for the Minnesota Vikings here at 23.
Perfect. And now we've got the Cowboys on the clock.
Oh, man. Cowboys can go a bunch of different ways. I wouldn't rule out wide receiver. You know that Jerry likes those splash kind of guys. Brian Thomas is still on the board, right?
He is. Brian Thomas is still available.
They need an offensive line. They need offensive line help, too. You can really pick your poison here. But I don't think he's going to be able to get away from those splashy guys. Give me Brian Thomas. You need another big receiver that can get vertical and open up stuff for CeeDee Lamb over the middle. Give me Brian Thomas.
All right. Brian Thomas is a Cowboy.
Mm-hmm.
The Green Bay Packers are on the clock at pick 25.
Green Bay. Cooper DeJean all day long. You can slot him at slot corner. You can slot him at one of the safety holes that you got. Playing next to Xavier McKinney, that's a lethal duo right there. I think the Swiss Army knife play, Cooper DeJean, fits exactly what the doctor ordered there in Green Bay. So Cooper DeJean's going to be my pick.
Awesome. All right. And now we've got the Buccaneers on the clock.
I'm not going to hesitate here either. To me, they're happy as a pig in shit. Leatu Latu fell to them, right? They need another edge rusher. They got Tryon on in his last year. You're going to need to replenish some of those defensive guys. Cornerback is in play as well, but you got a guy like Latu who's probably the most seasoned and versatile pass rusher in this edge class to fall to you here. Give me Leatu Latu.
Boom. And now the Cardinals at pick 27 are back on the clock. Last time they picked Malik Neighbors with the 4th overall pick.
Oh man. Let me see here. Let me look at their roster real quick.
Of course.
Yeah, they're odd. I mean, they run an odd man front here. Oh man, they have so many holes that they need to fill. I know they just signed Sean Murphy Bunting. He's gonna kind of fill a hole that they have. Safety next to Budda Baker. They need a strong safety in there. But yeah, they give me a cornerback off the board here. Give me Kool-Aid.
Kool-Aid? Love
Kool-Aid McKinstry. Yeah.
Kool-Aid McKinstry.
Yeah, you line him up. He's your cornerback one to play, and he's versatile. Like I said, I think he plays better in off coverage, but he's got great ball skills, and you need somebody that can go up and get it back there. You need to bring in some bodies to that defensive backfield. So give me Kool-Aid McKinstry.
Boom. Kool-Aid is a Cardinal. And now the Buffalo Bills are on the clock.
Buffalo. So they still need some safety help. So a guy like Tyler Newman would make sense. They need another wide receiver. I think, they do have. I think a guy like Xavier Worthy would make a lot of sense there. The defensive line, though, still needs help. So is it Darius Robinson, maybe from Missouri? Another edge rusher? Yeah, give me Robinson out of Missouri off the edge. They need to replenish some of that. This is the last year of Von Miller. You get a guy that's going to see the field immediately and be able to step in and take a bigger role once Von's gone next year. Give me Robinson.
Roger that. Robinson is a Bill. Detroit Lions are on the clock at pick 29.
Detroit. Oh, man. They can go a bunch of different ways as well. Like wide receiver makes sense. They just cut. Didn't they just cut Cam? What's his face? Who's the guy that got caught for beating his wife? Man.
Oh yeah, that's right. Cornerback. Was it cornerback?
Yeah. But actually, they traded for Carlton Davis. And they signed Amik Robertson from Las Vegas. So that might be okay there. Here's what I'm gonna do for them. They got Brian Branch in the slot. You know what? Give me you know what? Here's what I'm going to do for them. Give me Ladd McConkey. Give me a guy that can play inside and outside. I know Amon-Ra kind of owns that slot there, but I'm fine with playing Ladd McConkey and his skill set and separation and his hands on the outside as your Z receiver. Another weapon on that offense. Offensive line would have made sense here as well. I think you can probably back up Taylor Decker, who's getting up there in age. They signed Graham Glasnow again for a 1-year deal, so you're going to need somebody eventually to play at guard as well. But give me Ladd McConkey, man.
All right, Ladd McConkey is the pick. He's a Lion. Baltimore Ravens are on the clock at pick 30.
Is Fuanga still on the board?
Fuaga, yep, still there.
Not anymore. They just lost 3 pieces of their offensive line. Now you got your right tackle right here.
Yeah, I was figuring that was going to be a no-brainer. They're rebuilding that offensive line right now with draft pieces. And what's good about this pick is, for some reason, man, the Ravens just know how to go ahead and build and develop offensive linemen. So Fuaga is going to be a very nice piece to add to that O-line. And he looks like a Raven already when you look at his freaking picture.
Yes, sir.
Look like one.
And listen, he's dominant in the run game. They brought in Derrick Henry, and
they got Lamar as a quarterback.
So just get used to pounding that rock. So he shouldn't be on the board here, and he was. So now he's not any longer. Talise Fuanga off the board to Baltimore.
Boom! That puts the 49ers on the clock.
49ers on the clock. Man, right tackle is probably the way I'm going to lead. Colton McKivitz ain't it. You're getting old.
Mims is still there.
Yeah, that's where I'm going to lean. I was thinking either Jordan Morgan or Marius Mims. But give me Mims. I think he's, he gives you a little bit of, he can come in on the right side and eventually move over to the left when Trent Williams is done. So I think that's probably the safest play. There's a lot. The San Francisco 49ers getting old real quick, man. They're getting old real quick. And they got a lot of big contracts now, that are they're going to have to make some tough decisions over the next couple of years, once especially Purdy's rookie deal is done. So, they need some holes in the defense, but to me, I think that offense still runs behind CMC and those wide receivers. And to do that, you need Brock Purdy upright. So give me a Armarius Mims.
Perfect. And for the final pick of our first round mock draft, we've got the reigning Super Bowl champions, the Kansas City Chiefs, with pick 32.
Yeah, and I'm going to kind of sway from the norm here. I'm going to take a guy that I absolutely love at a position of need for the Chiefs. This guy I think is flying under the radar. I don't know why. I think he's as talented of a cornerback as anybody in this class. Give me Cam Hart out of Notre Dame. Um, some might say it's a little rich for them. But I love this guy's versatility. Big guy, physical, 6'2", 210 pounds, plays the run very well, can, versatile in press, in zone, which Spagnuolo likes to flip flop and play a lot of different things. Again, you're going to have to replace L'Jarius Sneed here. So for me, I'm taking Cam Hart here.
How do I close save draft? Okay, we're doing too much. All right, and that was our draft. Hold on, let me pull that bad boy back up. Draft wall. Okay. Was it this one? No. What's today's date? The 25th?
Yes, sir.
What the crap is this? This isn't. Today's the 26th. Okay, so then this is right. Okay, well, I don't know what just happened. Oh, my drafts. That's why. Okay, very well. So that's the first round picks selected by you, the people, and of course Dom leading the way for us on the back end when you guys got bored. So Dom, I mean, I really appreciate it, man. I don't know why this doesn't pop up, but I guess I still got to figure out this a little bit more. Draft selections. All right. Well, y'all all saw it. It's there. You can rewind and see it on the channel. Man, Dom, I appreciate you, man. I know this went way longer than I anticipated.
It's all good, bro. I gave you that commit, man. Anytime I can chop it up with you, Gunny, it's fast. It's good time. So
My man.
that's right.
Tell the people where they can go ahead and see you, man.
Yeah. If you haven't, subscribe to Project Prospect with Dom C. It's it's draft talk 24/7, not just Jet stuff. But we will always be happy to talk about the Jets. You can also catch me on Mondays. Mondays are busy for me. I have a stand-in spot with Boy Green, 7:30 a.m. I do the Talking Jets draft show with Ryan from Jets Talk 24/7 at 8 p.m. on the Talking Jets network, and then follow that up with 10 o'clock mock with Green Bean. Second year running, we're still rocking there. So Mondays I'm on live all the time. And then you can always hop on the channel and see the stuff I'm putting out. I got a lot of content brewing right now. I got some scouts and some guys that I'm really tight with in the community coming on to break down some of these positional prospects in positional groups over the next couple weeks. But Saturday I'm leaving for Florida, man. I'm taking 8 days with my family, just kind of chilling. Going to take a break, rejuvenate that battery before it's go time, man. We're less than a month, man, until the draft, dude. How crazy is that?
It's ridiculous. It's almost as if like football just ended and we were all depressed and couldn't wait to get more of it. And then here we are about to get into the draft.
Right?
I feel like this time of year tends to fly, but let's be honest, football season flies even more so. It just means time moves too fast. I feel like I'm getting older every day faster. So I digress. Nonetheless, football is almost back. The draft is something we all look forward to, man. Dom, you're a G, man. I appreciate your time. I appreciate your knowledge. Because again, most of the stuff you just broke down, if it didn't relate to how the Jets could go ahead and be impacted, I didn't really put a lot of effort into some of these guys. So I learned a lot today with everyone that was watching. So again, brother, I appreciate you, man. And I got to bring you back on again sometime soon.
Yeah, you just holler at me, man. Anytime, bro. Anytime, for real. And thank you guys in the chat for being engaged and whatnot. Y'all are, you're all the G's of this stuff. This is why we do this stuff, for you guys, So, Cyrus and DKB and Snowball and Johnny Jimenez and all y'all. Dano. You guys are the,
Hey, Snowball, happy birthday, brother.
That's right, man.
It's your birthday today. Appreciate you for sharing some of your birthday with us. Go ahead and talk Jets football, dog. Happy birthday.
Yeah.
All right. Well, that's it, everybody. Appreciate y'all for hanging out with us, man. You can catch me on Thursday night on the Thursday Think of It with Green Bean. Dom just gave you where to go ahead and follow him, so go follow Dom. Yeah, that's it. Episode 2 is a wrap. Until next time, go Jets.
I can do it all, I will never fall. It's the Renaissance, you know that I got the mother sauce, man. You know I'm the boss, I know what it costs. Have you ever lost? I'm so versatile, yeah, I'm a Renaissance, man. I can do it all, I will never fall. It's the Renaissance, you know that I got the mother sauce, man. You know I'm the boss, I know what it costs. Have you ever lost? I'm so versatile, yeah, I'm a Renaissance, man.